Hey folks, it's Babbaginator. We're back in the long dark. Let's see. I'm currently updating something. This month I'm part of a work team that's competing. Our university is doing a fitness challenge where we form teams and then try to do at least 10,000 steps per day. So that's what I've been up to. Feeling a little exhausted and trying to make up my time, but I am clocking in okay. So far, I've been consistent. Today was almost 11,000 steps. But one of the things I have to do is because I have a kind of a fitness tracker on my like one that I wear on my wrist. It is more accurate because I don't always have my phone on me when I'm walking around. So, or at least might be doing exercise in the house or other things. So I have to update it with the. It's so annoying. It doesn't do that all the time. Hold on a second here. We'll be here in a second. There it is. Yeah. So right now I am. Oh no! Back in last place on my team. Everyone else made up their missing steps, so I am back to last place. I am always the weakest link on this team. But here we are. Okay, so it's nighttime. I think our plan is to eat something and sleep. What was our big plan here? We got carrots, potatoes. Let's cook some potatoes. We got 2 things of flour. Oh, that's a lot of flour. Yeah. How much firewood do we have? We got plenty. Okay. Yeah, so for those of you who are joining us just now, I'm Babbaginator. I stream The Long Dark. I'm a writer, the author of 2 books, of poetry, and also teach creative writing as a writing coach and a manuscript editor. But my primary job these days is I work as a data librarian. I used to work as a computer games programmer. I've worn a lot of different hats over the years. So, yeah. A Canadian streamer based right now in... We cannot make... let's do the water here. Okay, let's do this. Let's make our job easier since all we've got are potatoes. And have lots of water, but that's okay. Yeah, so let's throw the challenge into the chat here. We're doing something called Roll With It. It's a challenge I designed. Oh wow, it's almost been 2 years now, I guess. But basically, it's a challenge in which we visit every region in the game on Interloper, but our length of stay is randomly determined when we arrive. So we don't know until we arrive into the region. Then we roll a die and it tells us how long we stay, and we can't leave early and we can't leave late. And as time goes on, the potential length of stay gets longer and longer and longer because the dice we use go up a category. These are basically D&D or RPG dice, so they range from 1 to 4, all the way up to 1 to 20. For major regions, like Crumbling, or like Coastal Highway, Desolation Point, Pleasant Valley, which is where we're at right now, we would roll a 10-sided die, so 1 to 10. And for micro regions or transition zones, these are really small spaces that usually don't have a lot of resources, not really intended for long-term stays. We roll a 4-sided die, so 1 to 4. But after 50 days, it becomes 1 to 20 days in major regions and 1 to 6 in transition zones. And then at day 100, the transition zones move to 1 to 8. And then at day 150, transition zones move to 1 to 10. So you don't want to put off going through some of the regions until the end, because you could get stuck there for a long time and not have enough food to get through. So that's kind of the challenge. And then this is a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I'm a writer. I'm also a translator. I'm also a former computer games programmer. I teach creative writing, and I work as a data librarian at the University of Toronto. Yeah. And I kind of get involved in a lot of different things. So do feel free to hang out. Ask me questions. I always love fielding questions about all sorts of things, whether it's literature, or it's artificial intelligence, or it's the state of computer games. Yeah, all fascinating to me. Okay, we're going to see if we can find that skillet. Usually there's a skillet around. Weird. It's weird when there's no skillet. But it does not appear to be skillet time. So we have no skillet. Mm-hmm. I don't really have much else right now. Got really dark really fast. Oh, too long. Messed up. Lost some coffee. Okay, let's just try to eat our way through stuff.
getting kind of heavy.
Let's pick a few other torches here and then we get ready to go. Roller! How are you? We're getting a late start tonight. I was busy making dinner. Kind of lost track of time. Yeah. So how was your week? I am really glad to be done with my week. There's still stuff I have to work on Monday, but slowly getting a handle on things.
I wonder if I can drop any of this gear.
Yeah, sounds windy. Okay, so we're on day 4 now. Oops. 2 days left. Really? Better than that? That's amazing. It dodged some nasty storms. Woodstock and Ingersoll got the worst of it. Well, that's good. Feel like it's been a little weird the last few days, but it's been mostly feels like spring getting there. Okay, drop that. Well, Astrid, are you like going to start a rap album? What's going on here? What's Astrid up to here? I don't know. We already went through this pretty thoroughly. Yeah, I just missed a little bit of something. So apparently, when they did a maintenance inspection, I guess it was last week, one of the things they discovered was that the fan in my bathroom is not working properly, and so I had to call in a specialist. So Monday, some guy comes in to fix the fans in the bathroom. So it's my work from home day, so I get to welcome him in. But yeah, excitement. It's hard. Honestly, it's hard to tell if the fans are working or not working because the one, apparently I've never heard them working. Two, the central air in the building kind of takes care of a lot of. Well, it makes enough noise that I just assumed that that's what I was hearing. So I've been thinking about. So I tried an experiment earlier this week, and I'm going to keep playing around with it a little bit more. But so I was thinking about like how to improve my D&D session prep and campaign prep, basically. And one of the things that occurred to me is that I could actually use something like Twine to kind of map out likely paths or choices that the party will make in advance. So like, and in doing so, also have a chance to write like a brief description or color text or flavor text of some sort for these different sort of options. Knowing full well that they may choose to do something that isn't like an option I give them, but like at least I have an easy way to like flesh out the world. So like for instance, I know that they left the Dwarven settlement and have headed down the mountain and returned to the intersection that they left, this meeting point, crossroads that they had left. And then, do they keep going to the west? Do they turn back and return to the village that they had started their adventure in? Do they press further south and try to find a way to avoid further encounters while winding their way towards the big metropolis, right? So, like, I give them like those type of like directions, and then whatever the next encounter or moment they would have, I can create a new scene really for that. And again, think ahead of like what are the likely choices they would make. And yeah, I mean, if they do a long rest, I mean, I don't have to like, if they do a long rest, I could think about like, okay, is there likely to be an encounter during that time or no encounter? If there's encounter, and then some of it might not even be their choices. It might be my choice as a DM. Do I feel like there's a long rest? Do I feel like there's a big encounter or a small encounter or no encounter? And I can write up sort of in advance, like those options. And then in game, I'm just really, I can more seamlessly move through the flow of the adventure because I've already thought through and written brief descriptions for all these different options. So I'm like, I want to try this out more. So I think like between like sometime this weekend, I'll sit down And I'll do that for my Tuesday group and flesh out, where I think they're going and what the next encounters might be, and set it up as if it were just a toying interactive fiction game, which they're not playing. It's really for me, for ease of moving through scenes. And so anyways, I think it's kind of I don't know. I'll give it a try. If I like it, I might even make a video about this on YouTube. Not like anyone watches anything on my YouTube channel, like fantastic descriptions, because it's been so long since I last updated it. And I kind of want to recut all those videos anyway. So redo them, re-edit them. So, but this might give me an incentive to like go back and start making more D&D content. But like find something a little bit more niche. Like here's a way to use a tool that you have not thought about in an interesting way to help you be a better DM. And so you're not great at improv. Well, here's a way you can kind of cheat the improv by having you're giving flexibility to how the encounter goes, but you're also prepping in advance you're thinking through what the likely paths will be. Hey, welcome in, EG. Here's a hydrate. Thanks. Cheers to you. And big stretch. I need it. I did about 11,000 steps today. As part of my commitment at work to participate on our little team in our library to try to do a minimum of 10,000 steps a day. And so I've been doing it, but it's been kind of comical. And Baba, bark, 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 bark. Yeah. So, what's our next step? Where are we going? I think we might want to, if the wind wasn't so brutal, okay, so let's do a little inventory here of what we've got. We have no skillet. We have no bedroll. We got food. We got torches. We still have matches. You found a chicken emoji? Hey. We're okay with that. Let's see. Let's drop this one. And this one. We'll just leave these 4 books on us. More of a goose. We're on day 4. We get out of here on day 6. I feel like we should do this. We should go up. Mr. Bear is over there. Yeah, that's the plan. We're going to loot the plane. Hopefully get some better gear. Loot it again. Yeah, roll the dice. See if we get a better loot this time. Yeah. Oh, if only we had frozen meals in this. Any big plans for Mother's Days, folks? I obviously am not traveling back to back to Saskatchewan for Mother's Day. So we will just have to make do with me calling my mom on the phone. We are super low-key in our family. It's like enough just to, if we're in the same town, then we'll go out and get something to eat. And if not, a phone call is fine. Yeah, the truth is, my apartment is as far from Great Bear as I can get. Apartment's in the heart of downtown Toronto right now, so. She would ask me why I'm wasting money. um, Well, we haven't been up to the plane crash, so we're going to try to do that. But it's risky because we don't have flares, so all we got are our torches, and in the big wind, we're kind of vulnerable. We still don't have a bedroll. This is a big problem. I mean, we could try to go from... So we got a couple options here. One is that we can go from here to Timberwolf Mountain to Ash Canyon. But again, no bedroll means we will not have a lot of places to sleep. It'll be tough. Yeah, so we'll see what we got. But the wind did die down, so we do have that. So yesterday, I wasn't streaming because I was meeting with my composer. So we went through the last scene in the opera, and we talked about the type of changes we'll probably need to make. You know, I think there was a part of me that misremembered how much we needed to do for that scene. And I was like thinking, oh, it's pretty close to being done. But apparently it's not pretty close to being done because there is need to like add or replace text in a lot of places, and we'll leave this guy until we have a... do we have a hacksaw? Can't remember if we have a hacksaw in this run. We do not have the hacksaw yet, so that's kind of not great, but... I don't believe there's anything useful in this structure, but we'll go check it out anyways. Because there is, I think, maybe food. Ah, we wasted a match. So dumb.
And this pack is getting kind of heavy.
Anything? Food? No, no food. Nothing. Oh, we'll take those. Got wool socks. So yeah, I think it will be pretty quiet. So yeah, so some current D&D projects. The using Twine to plan out the flow of the adventure and pre-write flavor text, I think is going to be kind of a game changer for me. I think it will be really helpful. So I'm looking forward to that. I started working on it this week, but I didn't get a chance to really test it out. So I'm going to finish writing up a few more scenes and give it a try on Tuesday. The other thing that I did, which I'm hoping to have a little time this weekend to work on, is I bought some cheap watercolor paint brushes, at the dollar store because I want to go back to making my own terrain. One way to do that is to just make it on paper or cardboard and paint it out. Now, I could do it with acrylic paints, but I wanted to try. That's usually how I do it. But I want to try it with watercolors. It will be a different effect. Acrylics, you can, because they're opaque paints. You know, so basically they're you paint with them and you're layering on top and on top and on top. I can't remember the term. There's like additives and subtractive color. I can't remember what the difference is. But anyways, years ago I used to know this stuff. But yeah, so working with watercolors is different because basically you start with like you want to leave as much white as possible, and then you just do washes. And so the dark part is the last thing. Like you go progressively darker. If you want shadows, but otherwise you leave things. Oh, that's twice I've done that. 2 matches gone. Might as well just take our torch and go. So yeah, so I think I'll try painting up some dungeon tiles and some outdoor tiles in watercolor for a change, and it'll let me feel a little bit more like I'm dipping back into my old art days. And it will also be an experiment to see if I can paint in sort of the watercolor style instead of an acrylic style. Although my art teacher in high school always did say that I tended to paint my acrylics as if they were watercolors and my watercolors as if they were oils. Because sometimes I would like not water down my watercolors, and I'd just do like a kind of a pasto, like a thick brushwork, heavy pigment. And so, yeah, which is not really the way you're supposed to do it. But hey, is there a right way to do things? No. So art is about innovation. Even if you know what you should do, you can also bend the rules to accomplish a different effect. So yeah, so I'm thinking I'll set that up as like a little side project. It's part of my May holiday period is do a little painting. Okay. Oh, this is disappointing.
I think I can use this.
There's nothing in here. No. Nothing in here. I can't remember who told me that, but in Interloper there is never anything in the overhead bins. Very sad.
I'll take it.
We will take that. That is very good. Anything down here? No. Oh, there is something down here. Oh, figures. Okay, we're not going to waste time with them because we know there's never anything in there. This has been somewhat disappointing, but... Oh, magic ear wrap. We'll take that. Okay, this needs repairs.
This will come in handy.
Wow. I have to think about whether or not we want to... I think it's kind of a no-brainer. We just want warmer this way. How are we doing time-wise? Day 4. Okay, so we got a couple days left. I think we can hope maybe Misty Cave will have the bedroll. We'll check that first thing in the morning. Off to Blackrock. Yeah, Blackrock. Time to go to Timberwolf. Timberwolf. To meet our doom. So I'll admit, one thing that I've noticed about my D&D DMing is that when I was underemployed or unemployed, I was a better DM because I had more time to prep. And now I don't know if I'm a terrible DM. I don't think I am, but I do think that I have less energy to put into certain of the niceties. Like, I usually don't have the energy to create a number of different voices and characters for the NPCs. Yeah. I think that's the big difference. It's like, I think when I have more time and energy, I can sit around and I can think about all the NPCs and give them like... Yeah, if I get to Fortune DP, it would be tempting to try Blackrock in sub 10. You know. It would be nice to just get it out of the way. Blackrock with a bow and with a bedroll, I'd be willing to try. But we don't go to a D12. We go straight to the D20 because we're gluttons for punishment. 'If we did a D100, you'd be guaranteed cougar attacks all the time. Oh. Okay, let's see. How are we doing water-wise? How are we doing torch-wise? Okay, I think the arc... Oh, it's too windy to light the torch. We'd just be lighting it in there. Oops. Alright. In that case, we're just going to leave. We'll leave our extra firewood here.
The sun is setting. It'll get a lot colder soon.
$400 we go back to D20, 450 back to a D10. Oh, we roll them back as we go over. When all the resources are expired. Can you imagine doing Dead World?
I'm not sure I can carry much more.
And roll with it? That would be a nightmare. I don't have a lantern, so we're stuck using another torch here. I mean, could you do Dead World roll with it style? I don't think you could. I don't think you could do long stays.
Oh,
Maybe if you're just does beachcombing work during Dead World? I don't know. I've not tried that. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let's see if we can do some repairs. Oh, too late. We can't repair. Okay, so... Okay. Get the can of poison fish out of the way. We still don't have anything to heal ourselves, so no antibiotics. Can't risk... Well, I guess we could start making tea. No, we don't have enough to make any mushroom tea. You have a counter to the roll with it challenge. Oh, how does that work? The 1 to 25 picket challenge. Every time you enter a region or transition zone, you choose how many days you'll stay there. Pick 7 days. You must stay 7 days in PV every time you enter the region. Cannot pick. Oh, interesting. That could be interesting. Yeah, I could see that. I think you would want to look at all the regions in advance and decide which regions you'd be willing to do the super long, like the 25 days in, and which regions you want to do short. Yeah.
all I can think about is food.
I just thought of another like variant on roll with it where instead of rolling d20 or d10s, it's all d6s, but it works like this. Whenever you enter a region, you roll a d6. And that is the number of days you stay. And then once you reach the last day, you roll a d6 again. If you get a 6, you are now going to stay another 6 days. Otherwise, you can leave. So there's a chance you might continue to, or it could be like if you roll 1, it means you roll again, and that's the new number of days you stay. So like it explodes. Yes. So I think actually it should be this way. You roll a d6. That's the number of days you stay. At the end of your last day, you roll a d6 again. If it is a 1, you immediately roll again, and that is the new number of days you have to stay in the region. But if you don't roll a 1, you can leave immediately. So you roll a 4, get to the end of the 4 days, roll a d6. If it's a 5, you're fine. You get to leave. If it's a 1, you roll again. Now you're stuck there longer. And that would work on every single region, and that would be absolutely miserable. But I think it would be kind of funny. Well, then you'd have to go find the Raven Falls trestle, but yeah. That definitely would be punishment of some sort. Death saves. Okay, so it is still day 4. Okay, let us try our luck. Oh, what we were going to do, we were going to do some repairs, right? We're going to take this, and we're going to repair this thing. Come on, repair this thing. Repair this thing. Make my hat better. Kind of. Yeah, I mean, this is our challenge, right? Flata Haze? Let's see, what is this? Fatih Halt? I get it right? I don't know. Do you stream by any chance? We'll find out. Oh, we get a clip.
To overcome this board. Oh my god, what did I do?
I don't remember playing
What
that.
the heck? That was an accident.
Many years ago, yeah.
Oh no.
Feels like that's where the clip comes from. Yeah.
Oh my god. Come on.
Ooh,
Come on,
that could be
man.
interesting too.
Seriously.
No, we have a digital die that we roll. So like so I can roll a d10 like that. It's kind of cool. That would suck. 95, 99. Still good, still good. Let's go to these guys and start doing... Okay, we should probably update this. We are now on, I think, day 5 now. Getting there. Yeah, with my luck, I would keep exploding that. These are fine. These are fine. Let's rip this one up. I think we'll just drop this here. Is this warmer? I guess it is warmer. Oh, but this is more waterproof. Doesn't really matter since we're... So the interior one, give some Will some love. If you play long enough, I think a lot of people find Will's voice, more grunty, and it gets on your nerves after a while. At least it does for some of us. I've explained it before. I think like the voice acting for me, the two characters tell two different stories, really. With Will, I mean, this comes out of story mode, out of Wintermute, but basically you get the impression from the voice acting and from the story that Will is someone who has lost hope, who is really struggling to hold his life together. You know, you see it in the beginning of the story mode. Here he is dosing his coffee with liquor and really stuck in the past. He always is thinking about what he's lost. And there's a tendency in Will's voice acting to kind of really portray that sense of like looking back and regretting and being stuck in the past. And there's kind of a whining voice that comes out of that. And so I think for me, the whining aspect of Will gets on my nerves after a while. Oops. I want full water here. Okay, go away, folks. Go away, ban that guy. Yeah, I've been playing... I've lost track of... Let's see... Is it 9 years as well? Yeah, I guess it's 9 years as well. Late beta, and I have now... Steam, tell me how many hours I have. It's come something ridiculous. We are at 3,849 hours right now. So I've sunk a lot of time into this game. Yeah, it's not sarcasm. It's not pessimism. It's not nihilism. It's just like this, I don't know. It's sadness. There's just this heavy sadness, and there's this looking back kind of element to his portrayal. With Astrid is always focused on what's ahead. And so you can hear her always thinking and speaking with like this eye ahead towards some sort of goal. Whereas Will always feels like he's looking back and then moving forward. You know, I mean, it's not to say Will's a weak character. He's not. He's someone who's dragging himself out of darkness in order to do something because of love and because of commitment to Astrid. There's something that pulls him out of his depression. And that he still needs, he still feels, despite all the tragedies that have like fallen on them, he still has this commitment to trying to do the right thing for Astrid and trying to ensure that she's safe. So Will is motivated by that, but it is also partly like this kind of stuck in the past aspect to Will. And I think that's just the way he's written. And I think it's part of story mode. And I think like the bits and pieces that we get in survival for me at least, often have a tinge of that looking back and sort of the heavy weight of sadness. And Astrid, I think, is always like trying to move forward with an eye ahead on the horizon. So. Come on, little fire. Yeah, it's not to say that Astrid is perfect either. I'm like, I do. There are little annoying things. Like, how many times does she have to tell me that she would eat a horse, you know, if she could? It's like, look, Astrid, there are no horses on the island. You ate them all. I mean, that is, I think, the real truth, is that Astrid ate all the horses. That's why we can't find any horses. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, let's get some more tea going. Okay, we are going to need a little more. Thanks for the follow. Hide the horse in the trailer. She swallowed the horse. And then she died, of course. Maybe Jeremiah is a horse. Maybe we've misunderstood everything. Starts with a fly. Yeah. I'm curious about how they're going to make it work. I think it sounds like they want it to be optional, like the multiplayer optional. So what is that going to look like? I don't know.
I wonder if I can drop any of this gear.
Okay, let's get out of here. Yeah, no, I think there will be definitely things that may not work the way that we expect them to work, just because they have to accommodate the multiplayer thing. But then again, I think maybe, I wonder if maybe some of the multiplayer stuff is really less collaborative in terms of the adventure and survival, and more, I don't know, is it more about like creating marketplaces and communities where you can roleplay together? I don't know. It's going to feel like Fallout instead, where you have like communities of survivors that kind of get together. We become the traders. Okay, so this cave is going to be the make it or break it for us. If we get the bedroll here, then I think we go ahead and go to Timberwolf Mountain. If we don't get the bedroll, then I think we go Coastal Highway. 10 coal for a Mackinac? That's cheap. I got a connection in Coastal Highway, or Desolation Point for that matter. I can get you a lot of coal. You'll give me a stem for a cougar claw, 2 bear pelts, and a carrot? Feels like robbery to me. Ooh. Yeah, like, where do you find carrots? I feel like it's primarily, like, in PV, in the community. Let's see, in the farmhouse, in the basement, and then in the community center.
I'm not sure I can carry much more.
Straight to the heart feet. Which one's that? Feet. Straight to the blizzard. Straight to the heart. Consume 200. Yeah. I do it with coffee, I think, mostly. Less with the stems. And then I've snared. The rabbits is relatively easy once you have like a snare line somewhere. I've been all over the place. I've run. This is, I think, the first one you get is like the free runner. Or at least the way I played, I was always running away from things. So it was like, that was easy to get. Fire Master. Yes, I've started a ton of fires. I've survived my 500 days. Cold Fusion, 100 days outside. Book Smarts. And then a lot of other ones. I never got around to doing the Dark Walker Challenge. I didn't kill the cougar in the original version, and I have put off doing Tales, and I have not, finished Tales. I've not done Tales. I know, I really should do that. I've done a lot of other stuff, I just haven't done Tales. I think it's because I find, like, I don't know, too much structure. I was like, so what I have done instead is I've finished this particular challenge already, where I visited every single region and I followed the rules in terms of, like, staying, up to 10 days, so I have to roll for every single region. And it's a nightmare. We've died multiple times in the very last region, which often ends up being Blackrock. So pulling it off, 303 days is what we pulled off. I also had a pretty decent Misery run where I did 41 days in Misery. And that 41 days, for those of you who are on this channel pretty regularly, the 41 days for Misery was exceptionally miserable because I never found a bedroll, and I died on day 41 crafting my bow. I died of starvation, or was it weakness? I can't remember. I was pretty much out at that point, but I had made it 41 days without a bedroll, which that was a new record, I think, for me. Prior to that, my longest runs without a bedroll were like 33 and 35 days. So to do it on Misery was kind of ridiculous.
Hope nobody needs this anymore.
Oh. And we have our lantern. Yay. And more coal. Hello, Mr. Cole. Oh, I was just thinking about something kind of funny that happened this week. So in Canada, it's our census time. So we've been... they send out the census. We have to fill it out. There are two versions of the census. There's the long form and the short form. Only 25% of the people get the long form. Most people get the short form. Now, I work as a data librarian for the University of Toronto, and we frequently are helping people navigate and use like census data to answer different research questions or to extract specific types of like profiles out of the census data or out of the labor force survey, things like that. So we're very familiar on a research level with the census and the census data. And so we were talking about this at work this week about how we all felt kind of let down that we did not get the long form census and we got the super short census. And we're like, but this is the thing that we care about. This is the thing that we help people with. It's like, so it was kind of funny and sad. Okay, so folks, we need to strip down here. Astrid's gonna get all ready to skinny dip. Wait a sec, why does it look like we still have clothes on? Take those off. Okay. And do I see a bedroll? I do not see a bedroll. Okay, we got the coffee. No bedroll. No, it's random. It's random, deliberately random. So, they designed this to be a path, and then there's nothing here. Always makes me sad. Okay. Feeling very Canadian. All ready to go out, Astrid. Is this better or worse? Slightly better. Okay, we're going to warm up some teas and then get ready to go. Long form census survey, yeah. Yeah, as a data librarian, we work with data collections, we work with digital research methods. There's a fair bit of programming that I do as well in Python. Some of the librarians I work with are more on the statistics side, and then we also help with like data sourcing, which is like getting access to different micro data or like special data sets that the government controls. Some of which are public and some of which are for researcher only. So you have to be tied to an institution and have permission to be working with it. So, yeah. So, like, it makes us kind of nerds about, like, really weird types of data that you can piece together. No, these days in Canada, you just they mail you something. There is a link and a code, and you go to the link, you fill out the code, you answer the questions, and then you're done. Just like that. They don't have to do an in-person interview or walk through the house or anything like that. It's kind of wild. Yeah, we're in the 21st century. That's what you think. Now we have hoverboards. Yep. We have hoverboards. You could just go to the brand new U.S. Department of War website where they dumped a whole bunch of UFO documentation out there in the public. It's like, really? Look at all the reports of unresolved,
Carry this load for much
unanswered, UFO sightings. Yeah, I know. I mean, like, here, there are two things I have not done. I've not done the final chapter yet for the story, and I haven't done Tales yet. Maybe I'll spend part of my vacation this month doing that. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, I have read some of the reviews. A lot of the complaints are the complaints of, like, it's the natural frustration around, trying to wrap up the story as best they could, while also recognizing it's a game, right? And here's the thing, is like, they had all these threads, they had introduced a lot of world building, and it wasn't as bad as, like, Lost, but I kind of got the impression that it was going to be hard for them to wrap things up in a 100% everyone will be satisfied sort of way. So yeah. I'm reserving judgment about how well I think it did as in terms of the storytelling. Like, game aside, does it create a satisfying ending? Do I feel like there's a bear waiting for us out here? Okay, so let us not do that. Is the bear wanting to come hang out with us? Let's not do that. Hi, bear. Hi, bear. Let me find another way around here. We don't have to... We want to get out of here. We don't want to deal with the bear. We're fine. We're totally fine. And you're right. We're probably going to have gone through that way too. You bear, you go your way. I go this way. We're fine. So at this point, we're gambling. I think we're going to gamble with Pleasant Valley, Coastal Highway, or not. We're going to go Coastal Highway, Crumbling Highway, Desolation Point, and we're going to gamble that we get the hammer and the hacksaw while we're in while we're in Coastal Highway. And the bedroll. It's a big ask, honestly. But Desolation Point has a number of places where the bedroll might be. Yes, and at this rate, we're probably going to end up leaving Black Rock for the end. Yeah, we could have got them, but we really need to make some progress here. Don't have time to hunt anything. We need to get moving. Though honestly, if we had time to hunt, we could get some ptarmigans and we can make a better bedroll. Oh, but we don't have a bedroll yet, so that would suck.
It's getting dark out here. Time to look for shelter.
Yeah, tell me about it, Astrid. Looking for shelter. You're like saying, well, what's the rush? Why does Astrid have to get back to Thompson's Crossing so quickly? Well, it's because we are already on day 5 and we leave on day 6, which means we need to be as close to an exit as we can when the day turns over to day 6. And if we are going to gamble on Coastal Highway and Desolation Point to give us the resources we need, the items we need, we're going to have to put ourselves in the right place. Hey, Sweet Loose to Bone, we are here. Only 5 moose hides. So cheap. So cheap. Let me just go to the vending machine and I'll get you those moose hides. Thankfully, all the vending machines on Great Bear take sticks as the standard currency. Yeah, for the price of only 3,500 sticks, you can get yourself a moose hide. Roar. That's harkening back to that old challenge that I did. Cash and carry, right? Where we had to build a rock cache in every region before we could leave. That was a nightmare. Some regions that was pretty easy. Some regions there was just not enough rocks. What is up with that? So few rocks. Then there was also the cash on demand redeem. That, who was it that was really exploiting that? Wasn't Big Fish, it was, who was it? Someone else. Okay, I think we're going to have to quickly head down to the ice so that we can at least find our way. First, we're going to check and see if there's anything useful here. Rock caches are only useful for storing things that do not decay. So, as it turns out, they're generally not very useful for storing food. But they are good for storing, like, cured items. That's a very nice. That feels like a very Waffle Mouse thing to do. You'd have to find all the corpses. That would take forever. Okay, here we go. Oh. Just vaulted off of that. Look at that. Who says Astrid can't jump? Astrid can only jump down, but something. Why is there a moose in the middle of the... Now we can't go that way. Problem. We're trying to take a direct path, and it was not a direct path because of the silly moose. I'm in general not going to be happy about this because we're losing visibility quickly in the haze and snow. Figures. Hey, got past the moose. Okay, I'm going to start lightening up a little bit. Lighten our load, keep moving. Well, at least we're not freezing, right? I'm just moving slow. Yeah. Yep, we can survive on that. Okay, we're almost here. Now, we started off this run pretty close to Thompson's Crossing. So, coming back here at the end, before we leave the region, is fair. It seems kind of like a nice little circle. Am I close to the cave? No. You saw the chapel up there. We're really close to... The river cave, yeah, we passed that earlier. We didn't go in and check it. Probably could have, but... Since this is a region that we tend to move in and out of a fair bit, it seems wise to leave a few unexplored things for the next time we're here. Okay. Let's... How are you, buddy? Go away, go away. Yeah, we started off the run with that wolf, and
This pack is getting kind of heavy.
we're back again. Okay, so... Okay. What are we doing for torches? Maybe we'll make a torch. Yeah, it's you can make birchbark tea in there, and it does have a bed, so it's one of the places that it's worth, especially for this challenge, keeping track of. Nuka used to call it the caught with your pants down cave. Yeah, I mean, that is true. You can get definitely trapped there. So I'm trying to decide if I'm streaming tomorrow night. I might not. It is Mother's Day, and I think that might not. I don't know. I think a lot of people probably have other plans. Yeah. I introduced a coworker to this game a couple weeks ago, and they've been playing. They played Pilgrim for I think they lasted around 30 or 40 days on their first Pilgrim run, and then had an accident and died from a goading accident. And then decided they would try, after a couple more attempts in Pilgrim, they decided, maybe I'll try Voyager. So they're moving on to Voyager, and like trying new regions, but also experiencing slightly, different experience in the game. And so I'm hoping, in another month or two, they'll move up to Stalker and Interloper at some point. But it wasn't. They actually crossed the ravine, or across the trestle bridge, their first time without having an incident, which is impressive because I think everyone has at least one death there, right? So I had an early death there. I think my favorite death there was actually not one of mine. It was Big Fish. Big Fish, very famously, not long after streaming, he started streaming. He was streaming. He was in the ravine. He started towards the bridge. He forgot he had auto walk on, and so he took his hands off of the keyboard and mouse to roll a cigarette on camera, and when he looked back at the screen, Astrid was plummeting to her death. And someone in the chat posted, and that, kids, is why smoking kills. So we had a good laugh about that. So that is my all-time favorite. Someone else's trestle bridge fail, But I think everyone has one, I remember the first time I died there, I was so careful, but I somehow misjudged, and I turned and I went to cross over, where it does the zigzag, and I went and I misjudged it. I don't know how I misjudged it, but somehow I misjudged it. And then I just fell, and I just was bouncing off of things on the way down. It was very sad. Okay.
Tired.
Hey! Now we have our reishi. We can go ahead and get our food poisoning. Come on, food poisoning. No food poisoning. Okay, we'll take that. Oh, we do have oats. We could have oats for dinner. Next time, then. Yeah, but it's still possible to happen under 30. Technically, it can happen anytime. It's just really slim. I've once gotten poisoned on 70%. 70% venison. It was of all things. It just felt unfair. Right, above 75% is not possible, but it's it was 70 or 71%. I won a lottery. It was not a lottery I wanted to win.
I could eat a horse. Let's see a lot, because I love horses.
Okay, chug, 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 chug. Yeah, the tin cans of death. I definitely have experienced those.
I could eat anything.
Well, we do have the pot for making oatmeal. Ooh. Okay, friends, we are on day 6. I think. Well, let's check what the weather looks like out here and see if we want to push through to our new region or not.
Drop any of this gear.
It's really gusty. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to call it for the night here. So let's just update our stuff. We're on day 6. And it looks like we're going to go to Coastal Highway next. And we're going to just go in here and save. We are saved. We are saved. Let's see, make certain this guy is updated. We are now 6 out of 6. On day 6. Okay, so we're good to go for next time. And so we're going to save here, which we just did. We entered in. We are going to do our customary sign off by reading a poem. And we will see what we get for our poem chooser. Approaching Infinity. Sure, why not? It's been a while since we read that one. So if you're new here, Fatahalt. Yeah, so if you're new here, those of you lurking, in addition to streaming Long Dark and working as a librarian, I am also a writer and published author. And so I read poetry by request, but also at the end of the stream. Here's the little bio thing. Yeah, so I read poetry. So tonight I'm going to read, we have a little random generator. It picks something that has been published either in one of my books or has been published in a journal, literary journal. So we are going to read something. That is not in my first 2 books, but is part of the manuscript that will become my 3rd book when I buckle down and actually finish writing the thing. So, but here we go. We'll read something. This is called Approaching Infinity. And this is dedicated to my father. Pretty much the only thing you really need to know is that a number of years ago, I lost my father to ALS, to Lou Gehrig's disease. And so, and then last month was my birthday. And so the topic of birthdays also comes into play here. So, and math, calculus. Here we go. Approaching Infinity. Pre-calculus, we considered the limits of things, tried to determine what value an expression held at a given point in time. Watch the arc, the trajectory, the slope of the line, the teacher would say. We'd nod, look both ways, observe where it had been, where it was headed, what to do when it broke down, failed to arrive, nothing over nothing, what to make of infinity spread wide over the void, over an unknown field. This year, my father approaches 60 again, as he has every year for the past decade, his body a void within a void, a scattering of variables they could not solve in time. From where we stand, the future remains an unworkable approximation. The pencils grow silent. I hear geese far above us, winding their way south. if I turned my head just right. I might see my father now, a thin shadow trembling at the edge of view, that almost imperceptible hesitation before the second hand moves, before this moment is carried into the next, the sky inching towards night, the space between us, the distance from one dying star to another. And that was originally published in American Poetry Journal in 2018. I have been dragging out this third manuscript for a number of years. I think part of it is that, like, with my first book, as with many people's first books, you kind of spend a lot of time wrestling with some big ideas. And a lot of it has to do with who you are or what's really important to you. And so you spend all this time crafting that first manuscript, the first book, and then it gets published. And then you go through this period of, like, what to do next. But for me, it was very clear, like, there was a second project I already knew I wanted to write about, which is I wanted to write about the history of computers. I wanted to write about Charles Babbage. I wanted to write about AI. I wanted to write about my background and my history as a computer games programmer. And I wanted to find a way to make it poetry and not just kind of, oh, it's sort of about these things. I wanted to really go deep and in an interesting, unexpected way. So that was the second project, and that was the second book. And the third book has been kind of a pain, because after the first two books, I kind of, like, wasn't certain where to go next. I knew I had some ideas and some questions I wanted to write, but I also had spent much of the second book trying, and ultimately failing, to not write about my father, because I felt like the first book ended up being a lot about my father. And I was like, okay, I'll give myself a break and I'll write about something else. But it's, as more time passes, things change, perspectives change, you see things differently, and you want to write differently. And it's not to say, how can I put this? I think the experience of grief and loss, especially when it comes to, like, people that are close to you and your family, changes over time. And the way that you think about things, the way that you want to explain them or explore them, the images, the lines, the language that you use, that evolves with time. And so that grief is no longer fixed. It is evolving and changing, and it overflows into other things that you experience in your life. So I think, like, the third book, really, part of it, I was exploring a lot about, like, the language around, astronomy and about, like, black holes and time, because I thought, like, about the event horizon as it being this really interesting metaphor for loss, in which, from the outside, things get frozen and stuck, like we don't see what happens next. But from inside, the loss has already happened. And so I was really interested in that, and really interested in, like, other sort of references to stars and to galaxies and things like that. And I thought maybe I wanted to do something with, medieval and early modern sort of writing, like early astronomers, whether they're medieval or they're early modern, like into Shakespeare's time, how they wrote about the night sky. And so I thought I'd do some research about that. And I did some, but it didn't go as far as I thought it would go. I just kind of got stalled. And I started to realize, and I think this is increasingly apparent to me, that really the third book is about middle age. It's about, there's a lot of references. When I look back over those poems, I see a lot of references to Dante's Inferno and the very famous sort of opening that he has in the Inferno, where he says, midway through life's journey, I found myself lost in a wood and not knowing which way I should go. And that's, both a literal forest, but it's also a metaphorical, like, lost midway through your life's journey, And so yeah, I think that kind of grappling with what middle age means. What does it mean for me to enter the decade my father never left? So I'm in my early 50s now. I just had my 52nd birthday, and it's one of the things I think about a lot. Is like, I think the odds are still good that I will probably live a pretty decent long life. But it's strange to think that I'll live past. There will be a day that I'll wake up that I'm older than my father. So that's kind of things I think about. Poets. Oh yeah. Let's see. I will see if I can get you a link to that. You want to read the poem? I think it's still available. Okay, so let's see here. Past issues. That was not that one. Yeah, okay, here we go. I'll get you the link. So, if you want to go and read the poem, you can find the poem here. But yeah, I also teach creative writing. I have an MFA in creative writing, which is a multi-genre MFA, which was primarily poetry, but I also took fiction and creative nonfiction classes. And I also got involved with literary translation. So I kind of did a little bit of everything. And as a writing coach, I also have a PhD in literature and creative writing. So I spent a long time studying creative writing, both formally within an academic setting, but also privately, just reading a ton of books and studying a lot of like other people's work and writing about writing and having many conversations with more experienced, really talented writers and mentors. And so, like, I think a lot about like how to tell stories. I'm also a DM, a D&D, like I run D&D games as a dungeon master or game master. And so I'm really interested in like that type of collaborative storytelling, that type of improvisational narrative, these type of things I'm interested in. And so so like I'm really curious to see how chapter 5 resolves, because it does feel like there are a lot of threads that I'm not certain how they're going to pull off. A lot of the complaints I've seen have been about, some of the character arcs really, or character decisions not always making sense. I'm curious to see if they sell, like, characters can do things that are sometimes inconsistent, but the seeds for that inconsistency have to be planted early on. And so like a good example of that will be, if you watch the musical Hamilton, and I think about this all the time, is like the incredible range of meaning a single line has throughout the entirety of that musical, which is, and the line is, "I'm not going to throw away my shot." And that is the line that kind of summarizes the entire trajectory of Hamilton's life and how it drives him forward, and yet ultimately, in a very literal sense, what costs him his life at the very end is he does indeed throw away his shot. And so the profound irony of that in the very end, and I think about like the brilliance of the writing in order to have like a line that grows in its dramatic irony over time, and the situational irony grows as well as you start to realize that's what he's headed towards, is he's going to throw away his shot. And he does. Yeah. And so, so this moment of inconsistency, right? Like in the end, is at once consistent and not consistent. And that's what makes it really interesting. So for me, I'm curious to see if these characters in chapter 5, even if they don't necessarily do the things that the players anticipate that they will do they still make sense within the structure of the story? Is there enough in the story that has led me to believe that this decision or this deviation from what I expected of the character is still plausible and believable? Or does it feel like the end of Game of Thrones, when suddenly all sorts of characters are doing things that make no sense whatsoever, and I feel a great betrayal, right? So, like, as long as Chapter 5 does not resolve as badly as the end of Game of Thrones, then I think I'm okay. And I'll accept that it will be, like, for the sake of hitting certain internal goals and deadlines, because Hinterland needs to move on to the next game. They can't spend forever trying to fix the story if they realize they have kind of telegraphed certain things early on in the story that maybe they can't really pull off, or have painted themselves into a corner. And that's kind of the Patrick Rothfuss problem of why he can't finish, the King Killer series, is because he's painted himself into a narrative corner that's really impossible to pull off in a third book. I mean, he's basically set himself up where he needs 2 or 3 more books, yet he's created a narrative frame in which it will resolve in the last book. So it's just not feasible. It just can't happen. And whatever he does will not feel like a success. And so I think that's one of the reasons why he can't finish it, is he just can't do it. Not as bad as Game. It's a low bar. Like, you can't mess up as badly as Game of Thrones. Yeah, I think I'll probably be fine with it. I mean, I was fine with all the episodes. My complaints with the story are less about the story and more about, like, their certain game mechanic choices that they made that I found incredibly frustrating. Like, I found certain tasks to be repetitive and boring. Like, I didn't need to do this 5 times. 3 times would have made enough sense, right? And I found, like, being harassed by Timberwolves, being harassed by Timberwolves. I hate Timberwolves in regular survival. It's just a nightmare. I just did not enjoy. It made me get a little bit better at dealing with Timberwolves, but I was still, like, nonetheless not happy about dealing with Timberwolves. Yeah, which I've heard I'll have to do even more of that. And I heard that a lot of Chapter 5 ends up being, it feels railroady. It feels like there's a very linear path forward. And it's because they're out of time. They've got to tell their story and get to some sort of resolution. They are not writing an interactive fiction novel or a choose your own adventure where there's many different endings that are possible. It's just not that type of game. Could they have allotted room or planned for maybe 2 endings or 3 endings? Yeah, I've heard that. Could they have done 2 or 3 endings? Maybe, if they didn't have to shift all their resources over into Black Frost, then I think maybe they could have devoted a little bit more time to thinking about, like, could you have multiple endings? Because, I mean, I feel like they experimented with that early on with, like, what do you do with the escaped convict that you meet, in the Milton farmhouse, right? And you get a choice, but in some sense, does that choice really matter, right? So I think, like, if you can give them a choice where it matters, and this is a lesson from doing Twine and interactive fiction games, you have to have meaningful choices that feel significant, that feel like they did alter the path of reality. So I think, like, that's kind of the challenge, right? Is you want to have people making meaningful choices. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have, like, 600 different endings because they've allowed them that. But I think it does mean that maybe you have some content that is only visible, down one particular decision path. And that's fine. But it does a little bit more work. It does take more time and more work. And I think they probably just felt like they were out of time. They really wanted to get on to the next thing. And that's their prerogative. It's like when I worked in the game industry, we always ended up having to ship things that were not 100%. It was just the reality of the games industry. There will always be things that you kind of wish you could have done better, more completely, or there'll be some nagging bugs that are going to show up like 5% of the time, right? It's just like, we can't figure out how to squash this perfectly. There's something about the interaction between these different systems, or like these unusual choices that a player might make that could create a scenario where this particular bug shows up. And it's like, we can't protect every single thing. So sometimes we have to let them go, right? And then with big video game companies, or even like Hinterland, if a bug does show up, then you are committed to doing the fix for it. But like, we worked on educational games for kids, like the grade-based learning stuff, like Knowledge Adventure, Jumpstart, was it Jumpstart Grade 2? I think Advanced Grade 2 was one of the ones I worked on. Anyways, a lot of those games is like, you know what? They're just electronic babysitters. They're not great at teaching kids, but they do entertain them. And at the same time, no one's going to, like, if we get all the big bugs out, they'll put up with the smaller bugs. So, have I played Baldur's Gate 3? I did not play Baldur's Gate 3 for a very important reason, which was I had started, I'd gone back to school after my PhD. I took a number of years off and worked and did other things. And then I went back in 2023 to pursue a master's in library and information studies. And Baldur's Gate came out just before that happened. And I was like, I will not buy this game, because if I buy this game, I will not finish my degree. I will be so incredibly distracted, wanting to keep playing and playing and playing and playing. I just knew it was going to be a problem. Because I get obsessive sometimes about things like that. So, I didn't do it. And, now I'm just waiting for a price to come down. And, the job is in the way now. It's like, actually, it's not even the job. I would say the job is partly what gets in the way, but it's actually, the reality is, it's because I am running 2 different D&D games, one on Tuesday night, one on Thursday night, and I'm playing in a Saturday afternoon D&D game. So there's where my spare time is going right now, is like all the work in prepping and thinking about and managing like 2 different D&D campaigns, 2 different groups. And then also, carving out part of my Saturday afternoon to spend playing online with a group of friends back in BC. He hasn't done Baldur's Gate 2 yet. I know I will love it. I know it's got all... I've definitely watched enough content around it to know that I will probably really enjoy the game. But I also know that it will be a huge time suck. And I need to figure out when I can do that. Right now, I feel like my life is still a little precarious. I am in a position right now, a job that I started in February. Unfortunately, this job is a 1-year contract because it is a parental leave. Someone else is on leave, and so I'm filling in. And my next job as a librarian, most likely, will be another one of these type of 1-year contracts. Just because the universities here in Canada, much like in the States, are all under a severe budget crisis where there's really, for actually completely different reasons why they have a budget crisis, but there's still nonetheless like a lot of tight purse strings and a lot of administration that has basically said, we will not be doing any new, non-contract hires for the next few years. And if there are vacancies, we will leave them vacant for an extra year before we try to fill them, just so we can save money. So because of that, I'm kind of stuck bouncing between these 1-year positions until, I run into an opportunity where it's like, okay, we do have the money and we want to hire you. And we want to keep you here. So Toronto is good just because there's like a ton of universities and a ton of like academic libraries that I could be a part of, and public libraries as well. So there's lots of opportunities in the area, but I would really love to settle into like something that is a permanent role and not potentially only a 1-year role. So, and because of that, I kind of find my priorities are less about picking up something that I feel like is going to be a long-term engagement, like Baldur's Gate 3, and more about like playing games that I can hop in and out of and not feel like I'm committed to a really long story. It's one of the reasons why the Long Dark works really well for me is that I'm at this stage of comfort with the game that, most of my streams are like maybe an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. And then, so I'm not doing anything super long and, but I do have like challenges that I find really interesting that I think my viewers usually find interesting. I have opportunities to have good conversations about topics, and it's fun. I enjoyed that. But yeah, I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a big time suck when I get there. And I do pay attention to when it goes on sale, and I like think about it. I think about it really closely, but we'll see. We'll see. The day is coming soon when I will pull the trigger, I will buy the game, and I'll start playing. It's not that long. Yeah, it can't be long. Well, I mean, it depends on the type of playthrough you decide to do. 663 hours. It sounds like, with Skyrim, I think between original Skyrim and Skyrim Special Edition, I think adding those two together, I have maybe about 1,200 hours. And that felt like, for a long time, that felt like the longest, well, it was the longest I had committed to any game. And then I started playing The Long Dark, and it was like, okay, no, this is my commitment. Yeah, I know, exactly. It's like, it's because there's so many different things that you want to try out. And because it's so addicting to like go down this rabbit hole Like I know about the thing. I haven't read too closely because I didn't want to spoil too much about it. But I do know that they really went overboard in implementing speak with animals just so that you would have so many different weird encounters with animals. Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, there are definitely people that want to romance everything that moves in the game and all your companions as well. And, yeah, I'm a little bit less inclined to pursue that. So, yeah. So I'm not big on the heavy, have to romance everyone. No, I'm not that type. So. Yeah. We'll see if they're interesting. If they're interesting characters, maybe we'll see. There's a range of possibilities here. But yeah. In any case, yeah, I guess we should probably figure out who we're going to raid while we can. Probably an ominous choice of companionship. That sounds like Prof. That totally sounds like Prof. Okay, so let's figure out who we can go raid, and then I can get to sleep because I still have to get up tomorrow and do some other stuff. Let's see here. Ooh. QC Gaming, Miss Hellcat. I haven't seen Miss Hellcat up for a while. Ooh, someone doing a first stream. Brand new to this. Okay, let's check out someone brand new. This is Artistic by Nature. Okay, let's try this. We'll go visit this person. Yeah, we're going to go raid someone here. If you want to join us, please do. I'm going to hang out there for a couple minutes and then I'm going to go to sleep. So we'll get this raid set up. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I will be back. I'll probably take Sunday off, tomorrow night off, and I might be back on Monday night. Normally I take Monday nights off, but we'll see. So